Live from the studios at the University of Kansas, you are watching KUJH TV News.
A shakeup in leadership on the KU campus sparks the search for a new head coach. We'll tell you what led to David Beatty's departure.
Plus, we have team coverage on all fronts to get you ready to vote. Break down some of the biggest races in the state and the nation. Thanks for joining us here on KUJH News. I'm Aksini Gichigina.
And I'm Malik Jackson. Breaking news over the weekend. KU Athletic Director Jeff Long announced KU head football coach David Beatty will not return for a fifth season.
KUJH sports anchor Keely McCormick joins us in the studio. Who will coach the Jayhawks for the final 3 games of the season? Keely?
Malik, Aksini, Long also announced Beatty will finish the season and coach the final 3 games. Long decided to terminate Beatty after he compiled a 6-39 record in the past 3.5 years. KU will pay him a buyout of $3 million in 6 installments. I'll have more information about Jeff Long's decision later in sports.
All righty, it was a rainy start to the day, which tends to steer people away from the polls, but it's starting to clear up now.
Let's go now to weather anchor Warren Sears to see what can voters expect on their way to the polls. Warren?
Yeah, I think that we're going to see just kind of a typical November day for your day tomorrow. A little bit warmer than today. This afternoon we got up to about 53 degrees. We're seeing mostly cloudy skies. It is a bit chilly out there all in all, but a fairly nice day. So we do have some southern severe weather actually going on down in southern portions of the country and down in the southeast, northern Mississippi, Tennessee. You're getting on some action this evening. I'm thinking that we're going to really see the activity ramp up as we head in through the 7 o'clock hour down there. So all in all, it's going to be a very active evening for them down in the southern portion of the country. But for us here, I think we have some just kind of weak activity that is going to try and organize through our area. So if you do see a spotty shower this evening, don't be alarmed, but all in all, I think we'll stay mostly dry. So what you can expect, a stray shower is possible this evening. We will see some cooler temperatures this week, and snow, it's only early November. I'll have a much more detailed forecast for you coming up.
KUJH News wants you to be prepared before you head to the polls tomorrow if you haven't already voted. Let's break down some of the big races, starting with the governor's seat. This includes Republican candidate Chris Kobach, Democratic candidate Laura Kelly, and independent candidate Greg Orman.
Chris Kobach is the current Secretary of State and says he'll take a hardline stance on illegal immigration if elected. He also supports having to prove your citizenship in order to vote. Laura Kelly is the current State Senate ranking member. Kelly's highest priority is fully funding education.
She says it's her lifelong mission to ensure students have the tools necessary to succeed. Greg Orman is a businessman, and he says he wants to grow and diversify the Kansas economy and provide an alternate choice from the 2 parties.
This is Steve Watkins' first election. He is running as the Republican candidate in the 2nd Congressional District. He's an Army veteran and says one of his strongest positions is on national security. Many Republicans abandoned Watkins, including the main Republican super PAC.
Democratic candidate Paul Davis says the problem in Washington politics isn't one party or the other, but it's the money. He is a typical moderate Democrat running on health care and tax reform. Libertarian candidate Kelly Stanley says it is his top priority to create unity and stopping the division in this country.
Shady Paul Davis can't be trusted.
Even Watkins' fellow Republicans have called him a fraud.
What's worse than getting caught at a strip club during a drug bust? Ask Paul Davis.
The 2nd District race in Kansas has become more expensive than any House race in the country. CNN says the main Republican super PAC has spent more than $1.9 million in attack ads against candidate Paul Davis. Davis says it's because Watkins is a political outsider with no legislative experience. Watkins says he knows this will be a tight race. The Democratic Campaign Committee also has released attack ads calling attention to Watkins' lack of support from other Republicans. The Washington Post named the 3rd Congressional District race one of the 15 most likely to flip from red to blue. Kevin Yoder is the incumbent. He is under fire from the left for supporting President Trump's agenda. However, he says he is not a uniter. He's a uniter and not a divider. Democrat and first-time candidate Sharice Davids is pretty far to the left to be running in a suburban district. She believes in creating a child care tax credit alongside a general tax cut for the middle class.
We turn now to KUJH News political reporter Matt Hoffman in the studio for analysis on the down-ballot race. Matt, not many people know much about these races. Can you fill us in on the Secretary of State, Attorney General, and Treasurer races?
Ksenia, the race for Kansas Secretary of State can easily be split into two periods, before KUJH and now after. On the Republican side, we have an establishment candidate in Scott Schwab, who, like KUJH, may have his eye on the governor's mansion. He's a former state rep from Olathe, former chairman of the House Elections Committee. Schwab came out of a crowded 5-person primary with 38% of the vote. For the Democrats, we have the Silicon Valley tycoon, Brian McClendon. He's a native of Lawrence and a co-founder of Google Earth. He has a massive war chest rivaling those of the gubernatorial candidates, though a lot of that money has come from outside Kansas, mainly from California. Unlike for Secretary of State, we have an incumbent for Attorney General. Republican Derek Schmidt has held the office for 8 years. He won re-election in 2014 with 67% of the vote. And before that, he was the state Senate Majority Leader from 2005 to 2010. Schmidt may be using the office to launch a congressional run in 2020, which he hasn't ruled out. Democratic candidate Sarah Swain was disavowed by her party in June after a poster of Wonder Woman lassoing a police officer was found in her Lawrence law office. Swain says the poster is meant to be a metaphor for cross-examination, but she was criticized heavily by the Kansas State Troopers Association for it. If elected, she wants to work with the state legislature to legalize cannabis. State Treasurer Ron Estes now holds the title of Congressman. Incumbent Jacob LaTurner, a Republican, may be looking for a similar promotion. LaTurner was appointed to the position in 2017 by former Governor Sam Brownback in order to fill the hole left by Estes. LaTurner is the youngest statewide office holder in Kansas and a former state senator. Democratic candidate and current state senator Marcy Francisco is a Lawrence native and mostly running on name recognition. She's a former mayor and city commissioner. The bad news for her, she's been outspent by hundreds of thousands of dollars. No matter who wins in these down-ballot races, we'll know they'll be influenced by the top of the ticket. Live in the studio, Matt Hoffman. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Matt. Republican candidate Vicky Schmidt represents the 20th district in Kansas since 2015. Even as a Republican, she supports Medicaid expansion to help more low-income Kansans access health care. Democratic candidate Nathan McLaughlin has decades of experience in health care management. He believes the pre-existing condition provision should not be removed from the Affordable Care Act. Former Lawrence Mayor Mike Amix is trying to flip the 45th House District to blue against Republican Cynthia Smith. You might recognize Amix from his time in local government or as the owner of Amix Barbershop on Mass Street. The seat is currently held by 12th-term Republican Tom Sloan.
This year's ballot also includes a ballot measure. You'll vote on whether or not Douglas County should adopt a 1/4% sales tax increase. The money collected from the sales tax finances the cost of providing mental health services in the county. The tax would go into place on April 1st of next year if adopted. And if you want to view your ballot early to be the most prepared going into vote, head to ballotready.org. Here you can view candidates in all the races that will be on your ballot along with their stances on hot button issues.
You can watch our live election coverage tomorrow on the University Daily Kansas Twitter and website. Two of our KUJH News reporters will have live results from the Douglas County Courthouse every hour starting at 7. And if you're wondering how you're going to make it to the polls tomorrow, we found a solution for you. Up next, what ride-sharing company is giving you a discount on your way to vote?
Plus, local businesses are even pushing people to vote. How they're reaching out to you. We'll be right back. You've registered to vote, you researched the candidates, and now all you want to do is cast your ballot and wear that oval I voted sticker with pride.
But for those without a car, it could be tricky. I will tell you where can people catch a free or discounted ride on election day.
You wouldn't want a ride to the polls stopping you from voting in this year's election. Well, marketing specialist with Lawrence Transit, Serena Pearson, says for some that just might be the case.
This is something that we felt was really important to offer this service to the community because obviously there are people that are not able to get to the polls because of transportation barriers. And so we felt like this was a really good opportunity to offer the rides for free. Election day is very important.
According to Lyft, in 2016, an estimated 15 million people were registered to vote but couldn't make it to the polls because of transportation issues. Lyft plans to give 50% off rides and free rides to underserved communities. It's no surprise the promo code for Kansas is VOTE-KS. Earlier this month, Uber also announced it would help get voters to the polls. Instead, Uber will offer $10 off a ride. Riders can receive this discount by downloading the app and entering the promo code VOTE2018. Cameron Collins, a student who uses Uber 2 to 3 times a week, says you can't beat a free ride.
And I definitely think if they're offering, like you said, free rides that day, like people are gonna be like, okay, yeah, like I'll go vote. I mean, if it's free, like I have a free way to get there, then yeah, I'll go vote.
Both companies say it's important to make your voice heard by voting, and they hope by doing their best they can get more people there.
That was Jasmine Keys reporting. The Lawrence City buses will also be giving free rides, so voters will have no excuse to miss out on voting. You can go to DouglasCountyKansas.org to find your polling place.
Many political commentators believe this year's election depends on young people. As KUJH reporter Keely McCormick will tell us, there are several barriers for student voters.
Some people were unaware that they had to register by a deadline. Some didn't know if they should vote at home or here in Lawrence, and some just didn't know anything about the process at all. And I spoke with a variety of students on KU's campus, and only 7 out of 20 said that they'll be voting.
I think especially for students on college campuses who are coming from other places, it's kind of confusing because you don't know, well, should I still register to vote at home where my family's from? Should I register to vote here?
Even with those barriers, some professors are still doing their part in driving students to the polls. I talked to Mary Hamler, a supervising election judge, who thinks that the resources are available. Students just have to find them.
I'm pretty sure part of it is just the communication of we're here, and we've been really helped by the professors and others who come through and say, oh, I've got it on my website.
But that is not always enough. Jonathan Reese Cervantes from Young Democrats experienced those barriers firsthand when he headed to the polls.
In the summer, the thing we encountered the most was our volunteer efforts, where a lot of students didn't know how to register to vote.
The U.S. has never seen more than a quarter of the vote come from 18 to 29-year-olds. In Lawrence, Keely McCormick, KUJH News.
However, current polls do show an increase in student voter turnout, but we will see if that is true tomorrow.
Local businesses are not staying silent about tomorrow's midterm elections. KUJH News reporter Grant DeMars is live in the newsroom. Grant, what are they doing to get out people to vote?
Yeah, Malik, several businesses on Mass Street put up signs, posters, and banners encouraging people to participate in tomorrow's election. Now, some of them even gave away free merchandise to motivate people to take advantage of their civic duty. One of these businesses is the record store Love Garden Sounds. It displays a banner spelling vote hanging outside the shop. Owner Kelly Corcoran says the banner has a special meaning to him.
It was unnerved by elements of voter suppression that really sort of became a single issue that I focused on.
Regardless of his customers' political views, he says anyone eligible should exercise the right to vote.
The premise of not encouraging others to vote because they don't feel the same way as you, I find to be categorically offensive.
Just a couple of blocks away, Lady Bird Diner set up a unique poster in their doorway that a local artist designed. Owner Megan Hereford says the art resonates with her.
I really wanted to display her graphic most prominently here because it speaks the loudest to me. The more voices that are engaged in the process, the better.
Lady Bird also has voting stickers on the windows of their pie shelf to catch the eyes of their customers with a sweet tooth. While businesses like Love Garden and Lady Bird encourage people to vote in general, other businesses like Wonder Fair support specific candidates.
It's important to take a side, and there's a lot of rhetoric about how public places and businesses should remain neutral, and we reject that.
Wonder Fair also gives free posters, stickers, and regardless of what side of the political spectrum you're on, all these businesses agree that your vote matters and encourage you to get out and participate in tomorrow's election. Live in the newsroom, Grant DeMars, KUJH News.
Those businesses will keep encouraging customers to vote until voting has closed. Still to come on KUJH News, Democrats hope for a blue wave.
You want to look at a real wave district, you look at the 3rd,
to our local races could swing the power. Up next here, how many seats are vulnerable for both sides?
Plus, we take a look at key races across the nation. Coming up, what potentially historic races are taking place. We'll be right back. KUJH News political reporter Matt Hoffman is live in his studio to explain us why the second and third district congressional districts are so crucial. Matt.
Malik, Aksenia, we don't know which party will control the U.S. House of Representatives next session, but we do know that the Kansas 2nd and 3rd congressional districts will play a huge role.
We're a long way from the coast, but a blue wave may be coming to deep red Kansas. KU professor Burdett Loomis says if it can happen here, it can happen everywhere.
Paul Davis wins the 2nd district, Democrats will win the House. I mean, they could win the House without him, but if he wins, that's two red state districts that would have flipped if you assume that Yoder would lose.
The other race he's talking about is the Kansas 3rd district. According to the New York Times, Democrat Therese Davids leads Republican incumbent Kevin Yoder by 10 points. Even Steve Bannon says it's gone for the Republican.
What's fascinating is not so much the generic ballot, which is about 9% Democratic right now, but you see some races that you simply can't believe they're competitive.
Davids is the epitome of the blue wave. If elected, she'd be the first Native American congresswoman and the first lesbian elected from Kansas. As good as Democrats' chances are in the House, they're pretty bleak in the Senate. Polling indicates the Republicans are likely to retain control of the Senate and maybe even gain some seats. A divided Congress traditionally means cooperation with the president or total gridlock. We'll know the answers soon enough.
Here's the problem for Republicans. Democrats only have 2 vulnerable seats, meaning seats currently held by Democrats that Trump won in 2016. On the other hand, the Democrats have 15 likely pickup seats held by Republicans where Hillary Clinton won in 2016. Democrats need to pick up 23 to take control of the House. The Cook Political Report rates 30 seats as highly competitive. Aksenia?
States around the nation are seeing a record turnout of early voters, and on the last day of early voting in Douglas County, the lines are long. County Clerk Jackie Hsu says voters here in Lawrence have turned up at a record pace, with numbers almost matching the presidential election just 2 years ago.
We mailed over 13,000. The most we've ever mailed was 7,900. We have over 10,000 that have voted in person. Our in-person turnout has been almost like a presidential election, and this is a midterm election.
Hsu says many who wouldn't normally vote in the midterms are showing up to have their say when it comes to national and state issues.
A hack, and Democrats are calling it a stunt to get votes.
Republican candidate Brian Kemp is accusing the state Democratic Party of hacking the election. He has not provided any evidence in making this claim. Kemp is neck and neck with his Democratic opponent, Stacey Abrams, with the polls opening tomorrow morning. Abrams says this investigation into her party is a witch hunt.
Florida may elect its first African-American governor tomorrow. Democratic candidate Andrew Gillum is leading in the polls against Republican candidate Ron DeSantis, and the largest margin of error is 7 percentage points.
Florida has not had a Democratic governor since 1994. Race is a key component after DeSantis said the last thing that Floridans should do is, quote, monkey this up by electing Gillum. Primary voters for this race broke records with 3.1 million casting votes. We may see close numbers tomorrow night if the voter turnout is the same as it was for the primary. In Texas, the race for the Senate could shift that seat from red to blue.
Republicans have held the Senate in Texas for 24 years, but the race between Republican Ted Cruz and Democrat Beto O'Rourke could break that streak. O'Rourke is taking aggressive approaches in his campaign by campaigning through every county in the state more than once. On the Republican side, President Trump is endorsing Cruz despite their less than friendly history during the presidential race. Texas has seen a record number of voter registrations and early voting during the midterm election. And that's our quick look at big races across the nation.
All right, well, we have a chance for some spotty showers here today and tomorrow. We are sunny Wednesday and then some snow possible. What's the deal with this? I'll have all the details coming up. Good afternoon, happy Monday to you. Fairly pleasant day out there, 53 degrees here in Lawrence, Kansas City. Mostly cloudy skies. It is nice and chilly though. That fall foliage really is gone. Look at this. This was just 2 Mondays ago, tree out front of Marvin Hall Architecture, and this was the tree today. So unfortunately, we're heading towards that Kansas brown for the late fall into early winter. We might have some white snow. We'll see. For your evening planner today, 51 degrees at 6 o'clock, dropping into the upper 30s for your nighttime low tonight. We won't see anything in the form of cloud coverage tonight, but we do see increasing clouds again for your day on Tuesday. We have a slight chance for some PM showers. I'm keeping it about a 30% chance, not going to ruin your whole day, but if you're heading out to vote, just make sure that you know that you could see a spotty shower right here. Just some very weak organized activity. I really don't think we'll see much, but just keep in mind you might see a spotty shower tomorrow. So we have a chance for some wintry mix. Look at this. Thursday morning, we can see temperatures in the low 30s around the area, and then you have some snow trying to make its way from western Kansas on into our area. So look at this. Thursday afternoon, we're kind of right on that borderline there between the snow and rain mix. So if you do see some snowflakes on Thursday, do not be surprised, because I do think it is definitely possible. This weekend for the Sunflower Showdown, looking a little 7 afternoon high. It's kind of an average week. We have a couple chances for some precipitation, that 50% chance for a wintry mix Thursday, and then we kind of stay in the mid-40s for the weekend and low 30s for early next week.
Thanks, Warren. Wow, snow. I don't know if I'm ready for that. Coming up later in the show, we'll talk more details on Jeff Long's decision regarding Beatty's coaching career. Plus, the women's basketball team is off to a great start, so stay tuned. Kansas added another loss after falling to the Iowa State Cyclones Saturday in Memorial Stadium. The Jayhawks have 3 wins this season, which is the highest under Beatty. He's won 2 Big 12 games in his coaching career at KU, one in 2016 against Texas and one 2 weeks ago against TCU. Athletic Director Jeff Long informed Beatty on Sunday that he wants KU football to take a new direction.
Of the football program's best interest to move forward with new leadership.
Enlists his first year as KU's head coach in 2015, and he is 6-39 overall. The athletic department is now looking for someone to change the culture of Kansas football.
We are going to find a proven leader, a tenacious recruiter, and a developer of young men on and off the field. As I have routinely said, we will break the cycle.
The Jayhawks will travel to Manhattan, Kansas this weekend for the annual Sunflower Showdown. Game time is set for 11 a.m. And it's KU's fan favorite time of the year. No, not Christmas, but basketball season. Kansas begins its 121st season tomorrow in the 8th annual State Farm Champions Classic against 10th-ranked Michigan State. The game will take place in Indianapolis and will be broadcast on ESPN. The State Farm Championship Classic began in 2011 and includes Blue Bloods Kansas, Duke, Kentucky, and Michigan State. The Jayhawks and Spartans are both 3-4 in the Champions Classic, and a KU win would give the Hawks their 3rd straight win in the event. Tip-off is set for 6 p.m. The second game will pit Duke versus Kentucky. And women's basketball took on Washburn for the final exhibition game of the season yesterday afternoon in Allen Fieldhouse. Freshman Brooklyn Mitchell and Anaya Thomas led the Hawks in points. Mitchell 19 and Thomas with 14 points, plus both shot over 60%. 13 Jayhawks scored in the 87-43 win over Washburn. Kansas will be back in Allen Fieldhouse on Wednesday to take on UMKC at 7 p.m.
Hey, well, let's take one last look at that 7-day forecast, man, it looks a little chilly, and that's definitely not what we've been seeing lately. I think we will cool off nicely the next few days. Thursday's high only looking in the upper 30s, and then we have a chance for some snow. I know that might not be what you want to hear, but definitely is a possibility for Thursday afternoon. And then we head through the weekend. Temperatures stay kind of chilly in the low to mid 40s, and then I'm bringing in another chance for some snow on Monday. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Not ready.
Snow? It's early November, right?
I know, it sucks.
I'm looking for sunshine. I still want sunny and 75.
Maybe we can get a first semester snow day. Like, do you
Oh.
think that ever
Yeah,
happens?
okay, I'm not. Let's have it then. Let's have it.
Well, that's KUJH News for your Monday.
To view our stories, again, visit our website at tv.ku.edu.
And check out Wake Up Call Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. for all your local and national election results.
Have a great evening.